Tonight, we're celebrating professional excellence. On the 9th of February, Nigeria, and I dare say the continent of Africa, was hit with the tragic news of Dr. Herbert Wigwe's passing. However, beyond being united in grief and coming together to offer comfort, we're here very importantly to celebrate a life greatly lived and a legacy never to be forgotten. Tonight, we come together here physically and also online for thousands who couldn't be here physically to celebrate a man who was an exemplary illustration of professional excellence.
If I may speak directly to his family. I know you don't know many of the people in the room. Some of them you may not be familiar with at all. But I have suffered similar loss to yours in that when my mother passed, in a service similar to this one, people gathered from all over, people I hadn't seen in years, people I barely knew. And they spoke to who she was. It was in that meeting that I discovered my friends who stayed with us over the holiday were staying with us because they had run away from home. My mother sheltered them without telling me. School fees she had paid, I heard about from those people when they gathered here. And it did something for me personally. It made me want to be stronger, better, to live better. The reason all these distinguished people have gathered is to hopefully give you a similar charge, make you want to achieve more, to do more, to be better. So our prayer is that at the end of today, after you've heard all the stories, you will know just how phenomenal a person you have lived with, how phenomenal a man your father, your brother, your uncle, your son was. We celebrate the life of Herbert Wigwe.
Good evening, everyone. I beg to stand on existing protocol. My name is Henrietta Ugbo, and I'm standing here as the chairperson of Federal Government College Warri Old Students Association class set of 82. Herbert was our classmate. I still can't believe that I'm standing here to give a tribute to Herbert. He's our late brother, a friend. I'm still so shaken, but I guess it is what it is. You know, I woke up thinking that this is not real, that it's a bad dream and I'm going to wake up. But alas, it is true. Herbert exemplified many things, and he was different things to different people. He had many constituencies. He had his family, he had his colleagues, he had his schoolmates, he had church, he had different parts, and he juggled his constituencies so well. So I have known Herbert for 46 years. He joined us in 1978 in our Form 2. His father moved him from Federal Government College, Sokoto, and he came to Federal Government College, Warri. And when he joined us, he displayed certain character traits which distinguished him and set him on the path of greatness from an early stage. So I stand here before you to celebrate Herbert. It's not about how long he lived, but how well he lived. Herbert lived a great life. Number one, vision. Herbert always knew what he wanted to become and was prepared to follow that path. I remember in our Form 3 when we had to choose our subjects. A lot of my classmates went the path of engineering and architecture. So they chose their subjects: physics, chemistry, biology, technical drawing. But Herbert was the only one who kept saying, let's study economics so that we can run this nation together. At that age, think about it, all right? And indeed, he studied what he wanted to study, and he came out and he ran a bank, and Access Bank is one of the banks that is systemically important in our country, Nigeria. So Herbert was visionary.
Our next speaker, we're glad to welcome someone who has known Herbert well and went to school with him, not secondary school, but this time Coopers and Librand. Please put your hands together as you make welcome His Excellency, Ibrahim Hassan Dankwambo.
Your Excellencies, my dear brothers and sisters, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. From him we come, to him we shall return. I met Herbert sometimes in 1988 when Herbert reported for duty in Coopers and Librand. Then I also newly qualified then as a chartered accountant. And Herbert was brought to Coopers by his father, Pastor Shingle Wigwe. It was a faithful Friday, and I was going to the mosque, so I was wearing the traditional Hausa dress. So when they saw me on the ground floor, they asked me, where is Chief Oke's office? Then Oke was our partner. I said, it's on the 5th floor. And I was already on the ground floor. They said, can you show us? I said, it's on the 5th floor. The father said we should go to the 5th floor. So I had to walk again to the 5th floor and pass by. Then Auntie Mo's office was somewhere as you climb onto the 5th floor. And I showed them the office. So they entered the office, and I went to the mosque and came back. So when I came back, I was sitting in the waiting room. And they finished. Even then, Herbert came with 2 books. I saw him holding 2 books. One was GMAT, and one was question and answers in financial accounting. So I said, what are you doing with this kind of books? Herbert said he thought he's coming for a written exam. That means Herbert must have prepared and was still holding those books for revision. When they finished and they were going, Pastor Shingle now called me and said, this guy is your brother, hold him. So he gave me Herbert as my brother, as a friend. And since then, till that faithful day that Herbert died, we have been together. So from that day, Herbert, I knew him as a very, very hardworking guy. He said he wants to qualify. within this first year. I said, but you are doing just your NYSC now. He said, no, he wants to attend the exam. Herbert was enrolled, and first sitting, Herbert passed ICANN exam. After qualifying, we were thinking of what to do next. I said I was tired of practice. He said he was also thinking of making some good money somewhere. I said, how? They are recruiting in CBN. We should go to CBN. He said, no, 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 no. I go to CBN. You know, he is going to GT Bank. I said, how are you going to GT Bank? He said he has already written the exam somewhere, but I should not tell anybody. So things go on and on and on, and I was in CBN. Again, one day, in CBN, I was then assistant manager licensing. Herbert made me. He said they want to acquire Access Bank. I said, how? He said it's already in advanced stage. I said, how do you do it? He said I should just cooperate and... So things go on and on and on. And one thing I can say is Herbert is a risk taker. Herbert can take any kind of risk. Herbert can approach any kind of problem and solve that problem, even when you are running away from that problem. Herbert and I acquired this bank, took it from nothing to where this bank is today. After making it one of the biggest banks in Nigeria, expanded the bank and make it a very dependable bank, not only in Nigeria or around Africa, but all over the world. May his gentle soul rest in peace.
The next person we're inviting on stage is a man who shares some similarities with Herbert. One is that they both worked at GT Bank. The other is that individually they rose to become CEO of their banks, GT Bank and Access Bank respectively. In addition to that, they also rose to becoming the CEO of the holding company when the banks became holdcos. And so at this point, I'd like to invite on stage to speak a few words about his memories and his time with Herbert is Segun Agbaje, Group Chief Executive Officer, GT Holdings.
Good evening, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed a very difficult day. Herbert was my colleague, friend, competitor, and brother. Only Herbert could have been all those things to a human being. That was the breadth the gentleman had. We started as colleagues. I met Herbert November 1991. We were both in the corporate bank. This gentleman walked in, didn't take off his jacket because we all had our jackets on, but that was Herbert. He was going to do it his own way. He drove a red Golf. Who drives a red Golf? Only a man who's that brazen drives around in a red Golf. Very quickly, Herbert earned our respect. Herbert was one of the cleverest people in Guarantee Trust Bank. He was a credit analyst, but that's not what got him his respect, because we were all good analysts. But Herbert had what we all didn't have. He had the power to chase accounts, network, and deliver things that we all couldn't. We had another brother who was the treasurer of the bank, Igi Mokrede. who basically, if you know banking, the treasurer owns the bank. And we would have regular fights, but Herbert would never join us. He had no interest in treasury, and all he cared about, as Kathy said, was his own corporate bank and his income. Having earned our respect, Herbert then became my friend, a real friend. We went in and out of each other's houses. I go on Festival Road. Again, when people talk about the courage of Herbert, Herbert's first flat was in Victoria Island. Most of us, we couldn't even move out of home. And so when we got there again, he had done something none of us could do. Maybe it was coincidence, but most people might not know. Herbert's first flat was next door to the old Axis Bank head office next to Intercontinental. Maybe it was Providence, and he knew he would one day buy that bank. So we were friends. We all got married in the bank, had our children in the bank. Herbert was always there for you as a friend, always had a listening ear. And so he became my friend, and we rose. Myself, him, and I became executive directors on the same day. The thing about that position is you were then sent to Harvard for 3 months. Mistake. You never came back from that course the same person. Ike and Herbert came back and they had bigger dreams than the bank. And so they bought their own bank. Thankfully, one of us stayed, maybe the cowardly one. And so I stayed behind. And in the years when they built Axis Bank, if you know us well, we compete. And so we became very fierce competitors. They decided they were going to build the best bank, and I decided that we're not going to build a better bank than I ran. And so we fought furiously, but never poorly or never badly. And then as we all matured, Herbert became my brother, a real brother. Herbert always had time. He would always make the phone call you needed to get you out of sports and bother. It's weird. My last conversation with him was 2 weeks before he died. He came to my house like he sometimes pops by. He talked about nothing but this university. This was his obsession. And the only thing he asked me was would I sponsor some ignorant students? And I made him that promise that I would. I have but one little comfort, by the way, when I think of Herbert, is that Herbert packed into 57 years what most exceptional people will never pack into 2 lifetimes. Rest in peace, my friend, my brother.
Now for Herbert, he had a team of people who helped him in terms of making the work lighter. He was a man who moved with a group of people, like I mentioned earlier on, not just to lead them, but also to show them the way and raise up other leaders like himself. The next set of gentlemen I'm inviting on stage are people who served Herbert as personal assistants. And beyond just what he presented in the workplace, we have people who had really close connections and close moments with him. And we look forward to hearing their own experience of Herbert as CEO. And so please help me welcome to the stage Efoli and Tunji.
Good evening, Excellencies, Access Bank, Access Warriors, and the Fearless. My name is Tunji Olormai. I started working with Access Bank 2004, about 20 years ago. I started as an escort driver attached to Mr. Ike in Mekwede. I worked with him for 2 months to 3 before I was deployed to work with Mr. Herbert Wigwe, late Herbert Wigwe. Before I started working with him, there was an event I had to go for, which Madam Doreen Wigwe, we had to travel to Obosi in Anambra State. I led the convoy. Excuse me. On our way back, I don't know what she saw in me. She asked our driver then, late Kamal Yusuf, to park around Bagada and ask the escort driver to come. I got to her and she asked, "Can you work with Herbert?" I said yes, but I have some few concern. That was 2006 towards August, December. And I was supposed to get married around 2006 December. For the fact that I know the nature of work, how we work, the way we close. So I told him I have a concern. I told her I have a concern. The man said, "We will look into it." Some days after I started working with him, he traveled and he was supposed to come back on Virgin Atlantic. That's early morning flight. I left my house around 8 o'clock, was going to work. I got into a popular event then in Lagos called One Chance. I was beaten and badly battered. I managed to get home. Tochi here found out that this was the situation. Immediately the father came in the morning. I'm sure Tochi mentioned to him. And while we were going to work that same morning, he spoke to the present CEO Access Holding, get my driver a car. And that was the beginning of the benefit a lot of junior staff today do benefit in Access Bank buying fully depreciated car, which are still very good on Nigerian roads. I later told him I want to further my studies. He said, "Tunji, if you really want to further your studies, make sure I don't look for you when I needed your service. Arrange the movement." I said, "Okay, sir." I did. I finished my first degree. And I told him I want to do my master's. All through the way, he's been there. Completing that program, one early morning, I went to thank him for everything, and he needed more. I told him now I'm a graduate. I needed something else to do rather than driving. He said, "Okay, we'll discuss it." Before I knew it, HR called that I should submit my documents. Within a short time, I was given a professional job in Access Bank. I work in administrative departments. Thank you. He said, okay, Tuji, now you've gotten a job. Can you go and face your administrative job? I said, no, sir. I understand the benefits in between. I said, no. The nature of job I have, I can do other things. I can work with you and also do my administrative job. He said, okay, if you think you are fine. We went ahead. Appraiser comes. He's always supporting me. Family-wise, he's always there. I know one thing about him. You cannot easily approach him if you are not prepared. He might not be smiling, but he's ready to support you all through the way. At some point, I had some family issues. I wanted to talk to him. I will get close to his office, I will run back. I will be close, I will run back. The face is always very tight. I put on the courage another day and I went straight to him. Sir, this and this and this and this are what problem I have, and I want you to look into it. He said, okay, Tuji, it's okay. Before you know it, it's always there. He's a noble man. I had many opportunities through him, and today, when you hear him talk, if you are wise, you listen, because I gain a lot of fearless and strong drive from him. The nature of work I do made me to learn that whatsoever you hear dies inside you. It's a profession, but I thank God today, and I want to speak to Access, the warriors, and the fearless. There's one thing he usually says: you keep going. No matter how difficult the task is, you hear him say, we keep going. Lastly, in my conclusion, I worked with him for almost 20 years. He has never insulted me, but one day, he said, Tuji, are you freaky bunker? I don't know the meaning. I felt bad for some days. But before the week runs out, the late Herbert Wigwe did something wrong, and he said the same. Chizzy, are you freaky bunker? I said, okay. I'm sure he doesn't have any arm. He doesn't have anything inside him. He's just trying to see that I do something right.
And now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain. My friends, I'll say it clear, I'll state my case, of which I'm certain. I've lived a life that's full. I traveled each and every highway, and more, much more than this, I did it my But then again, too few to mention, I did what I had to do and saw it through without exemption. I planned each charted course, each careful step along the byway, and more, much more than this, I did it my way. Yes, there were times, I'm sure you knew, when I bit off more than I could chew. But through it all, when there was doubt, I ate it up and spit it out. I faced it all, and I stood tall and did it my way. I've loved, I've laughed and cried, I've had my fill, my share of losing. And now, as tears subside, I find it all so amusing to think I did all that, and may I say, not in a shy way, oh no, not me. I did it my way. For what is a man? What has he got? If not himself, then he has not to say the things he truly feels, and not the words of one who kneels. I faced it all, and I stood tall and did it my Yes, it was my